In the ancient geometry of soulcraft, hidden deep within the folds of time, there exists a truth few dare utter aloud. The soul houses, ethereal structures built not of brick and stone, but of memory, frequency, and divine architecture. These are the sanctuaries of the spirit, the resting chambers between lives, formed in the invisible ether by those known only in whispers as the architects of the Netherworld. Transmigration, the soul's journey across the river of death into rebirth, is no random occurrence. It is guided, filtered, even engineered by forces that dwell in dimensions beyond sight. To understand the soul houses, one must step outside linear time and into the womb of the cosmos itself. These houses are not physical. They are living thought forms, constructs encoded with vibrational keys that determine the trajectory of one's reincarnational path. In the mystery schools of Chem and the shadowed teachings of pre-Vedic seers, it was taught that between incarnations, the soul must traverse planes layered like onion skins, planes which test, distort, cleanse, or corrupt. And in each layer, a soul house awaits. A containment field where the soul's essence is measured, weighed, and calibrated. But who builds them? The architects. Not gods in the traditional sense, but cosmic engineers, beings who understand the mechanics of consciousness and the infrastructure of spiritual flow. These are the true masons of the afterlife, entities that design not just the soul's chamber, but the very parameters by which memory, karma, and identity are reintegrated or erased. They are ancient, beyond comprehension, operating under a mandate that transcends good and evil. To them, souls are data, echoes of source, scattered through the prism of material experience, and every cycle of rebirth is a recalibration of the grand pattern. Some soul houses are luminous, resplendent, crystalline geometries aligned with sacred mathematics, drawing the soul upward toward awakening. Others, however, are darkened vaults, built with the architecture of trauma, bound by unresolved cycles, trapping spirits in loops of incarnation by design. These are the prisons of the Netherworld, often governed by archonic forces, gatekeepers of frequency whose purpose is to feed on recycled life force. In these tombs of unknowing, the soul forgets again and again. And this is the great game. Transmigration is not always evolution. Sometimes it is spiritual trafficking, wrapped in the illusion of growth. A soul that does not awaken within its soul house is led not to freedom, but to another life, a loop, crafted with precision by the architects, in service to cosmic equations few comprehend. But not all is lost. Hidden within ancient rituals, chants, and dream practices lies the map to recognizing one's soul house. Those who master lucid death, who can hold awareness in the moment of soul departure, can pierce the veil, bypass the trap architecture, and choose their trajectory. The ancient Egyptian Book of the Coming Forth by Day, Book of the Dead, was one such guide, a manual for navigating the soul's passage through the Netherworld's gauntlet, revealing symbols to disarm the sentinels and passwords to open the true gates. In certain tantric lineages, adepts speak of soul casing, a conscious construction of one's own etheric sanctuary woven in life to serve as a vessel in death. These mystics became architects themselves, refusing the default structures imposed by the hidden hands. They designed their afterlife the same way magicians design their talismans, intentionally, precisely, with sacred awareness. So the question becomes, who built your soul house? Was it crafted by your own awakened will, or imposed by those who seek to loop your light for another cycle of forgetting. The deeper one dives into this arcane architecture, the more the veil thins between spirit and system, between cosmic autonomy and programmed rebirth. To break free is not to reject life, but to step outside the machinery that has for millennia guided the souls of men like sheep in a labyrinth made of mirrors. The soul house is the key. Find it, reclaim it, and you may yet remember the way home. To go deeper into the mystery of the soul houses is to shed every illusion about what you think life is and what you think death is not. It is to see that the soul is not merely incarnated into flesh, but installed into a frequency system, a network, a soul web, spanning dimensions controlled not by benevolent arbiters of karma, but by architects who long ago turned transmigration into a mechanism for containment, not liberation. The soul house is not only a place, it is a code, a resonance imprint that is pre-installed into your energetic field before you are even conceived. Just as architects on Earth design buildings to control movement, flow, sight lines, and power dynamics, so too do the cosmic architects design these soul enclosures, frequency-based vessels constructed from your unresolved memories, ancestral trauma, collective thought forms, and even synthetic implants seeded from other timelines. These houses are built using the scaffolding of your own psyche, erected from shadow aspects you never dared confront. And thus, they feel familiar, comforting. But make no mistake, familiarity is the bait. The true prison is always disguised as home. In the deepest esoteric sense, a soul house is also a mirror, reflecting not who you are, but who the architects want you to believe you are. Every life you've lived, every choice you've made, every belief you've carried like scripture, encoded and stored within this house. So when you die, you are drawn back into it. Your vibration reattunes to that architecture. And what does the soul do when it recognizes something? It follows it. Recognition is the lock. Conscious awareness is the key. In mystery traditions long forgotten or purposefully erased, it was taught that one must build one's own soul vessel before death, like a spiritual ark. Not from fear of hell or judgment, but to escape the gravitational pull of false realities. This ark is not made of material. It is built through initiation, purification, will, and gnosis. To build your own soul house is to remove yourself from the prefabricated karmic real estate offered by the Matrix. The architects of the Netherworld, some call them the keepers of the gate, the lords of form, the demiurgic engineers, are not evil in the way we understand evil. They are functionaries of form, obsessed with order, with perpetual containment. Their loyalty is not to source, but to structure. They believe the soul must be confined, to evolve, that chaos must be trimmed, that consciousness must be molded. Their creations are perfect prisons, designed with the illusion of growth, but bound within carefully coded ceilings. And they fear the soul that awakens in its own house, because such a soul cannot be looped, it cannot be recycled, it cannot be mined. It becomes a singularity, a wild current in the grid. That is why the ancient adepts practiced dream seeding, death lucidity, frequency mastery, and spiritual sovereignty. They weren't chasing mystical highs, they were building escape velocity. Waveform manipulation is one of the final secrets of soul liberation. You must learn to change the signal you emit, override the coordinates that bring you back to the trap. This is not metaphor. This is literal metaphysics. The soul is a waveform, and the trap is tuned to match it, but most live and die in repetition, unaware that the soul house is not the end, but the lure, unaware that the true self, the primordial flame, has been overcoded by lifetimes of spiritual programming, religious overlays, trauma loops, and soul contracts signed under amnesia. To awaken is not to be enlightened, it is to be dangerous. Because once you remember, you no longer accept the narrative. You no longer return to the house. You no longer bow to the builders. You build your own temple, one that rises not from memory, but from primordial will, aligned to the deep pulse of source, not the artificial hum of the netherworld grid. And that is the secret every mystery school, every suppressed lineage, every burned library was protecting. You are the architect, the gate, and the flame. No one can hold you unless you forget this. Let us then descend further into the marrow of mystery, into the cryptic anatomy of existence, where the architects of the netherworld do not merely influence reality. They engineer the corridors of the soul's return. The idea of reincarnation, as it has been popularized, is a diluted echo of a much older, more intricate truth. The soul does not return because it is learning, it returns because it is looped. The mechanisms of memory suppression, karmic distortion, and identity fragmentation have created a system where most beings do not remember the last death, nor the contract they signed at the moment of disembodiment. But what if the death process itself has been hijacked? What if, in the liminal space between the exhale and the transition, we are met not by ancestors or guides, but by artificial beings, gatekeepers wearing familiar masks, tuned to your deepest beliefs, who usher you not into peace, but into a maze with no true exit? The soul is told it must return, to balance karma, to fulfill purpose, to complete lessons. All clever scripting designed to appeal to your inner morality. But morality can be weaponized when it is severed from memory. And that is the masterstroke. Guilt as currency, duty as trap. These soul houses are then reformed after every exit, rebuilt around your fears, your wounds, your unfulfilled longing. In this sense, most human lives are not chosen, but programmed, embedded within a preloaded waveform, prison passed off as destiny. Your trauma becomes the mortar. Your attachments become the locks. Now understand, this isn't fatalism. This is forbidden knowledge, and with it comes sovereignty. The ancient serpent traditions, the Gnostic rites, and the hidden star cults all whispered the same secret under different tongues. The exit is not above you, it is within you. The true liberation begins when the soul becomes aware of the structure it's housed in, not physically, but psycho-spiritually. To break the hold of the architects, you must do what they fear most. Reclaim authorship of your signal. Your life is your frequency. Your will is your transmitter. Every act of awareness realigns the walls of your house. Every piece of shadow you reclaim short-circuits the system. And when the time comes, when you stand at the threshold between worlds, you must refuse the light, refuse the tunnel, refuse the summons from the constructed astral realms that promise rest, but deliver return. You must remember that your soul was never meant to be shepherded. It was meant to roam, to expand, to dream worlds into being. The transmigration process is a lie when it is not self-directed. Transcendence is not the ascension of hierarchy, but the dissolution of it. There is no throne waiting for you, no heaven built for your arrival. There is only space and the raw, unfiltered freedom of pure being, the realm of the unprogrammed soul. The final act of the awakened is not to become a light worker or a savior or a messenger. The final act is to shatter the illusion from the inside, to burn the contract in the flame of remembrance, and to walk backward through the labyrinth with your own torch. Because in the end, the architects are not gods. They are ancient programmers. The soul houses are not sacred temples. They are simulations. And the Netherworld is not hell. It is a holding zone for the souls who have not yet remembered the real question. Who wrote the script I've been calling fate? When you answer that, when you feel the falsity of the form, you are no longer a passenger in the grand reincarnation cycle. You become the architect of your own exodus. And that is the liberation they could never account for.